Great. Wonderful to see you all. Thank you all so much for coming. To those of you who are in the room, it's great. For those of you who are watching the recording, fantastic. For those of you who are watching the live stream, also marvelous. My name is Ariel Mays. I'm the senior scholar in residence here at the Institute of Jewish Spirituality and Society. And in my other life, I'm on the faculty at Stanford University, where I teach in the Department of Religious Studies. You can hear my guinea pigs in the background. Founded by Professor Philip Wexler, at the IJSS, the Institute of Jewish Spirituality and Society, our mission is to advance scholarship and social transformation. We seek to bring Jewish knowledge to bear on some of the toughest questions of our contemporary age. We look to break down the barriers between spheres of knowledge and practice and help to enable long-term collaboration between scholars, social researchers, and human service practitioners. This Farbrengen, this gathering or coming together, is a part of that work. It's a monthly series that serves as a community space for thoughtful and engaged reflection on questions of mind, heart, and spirit beyond the formal academy, but drawing upon its wisdom. Our speaker this morning, or this afternoon, or this evening, depending on where you are, is my dear friend and colleague, Dr. Leore Sachs-Shmueli. She's a member of the senior faculty at the Department of Jewish Philosophy at Bar-Ilan University. She's a prolific author, an engaging author, and an expert in the fields of Kabbalah and Hasidism, with a particular emphasis on topics related to ethics and morality, the rationale of the commandments, Ta'amei HaMitzvot, the history of emotions, and gender studies. Today, she's going to help us understand how Hasidic thinkers read and reread the Zohar, a classic text of Jewish mysticism, with a particular eye to the life of feeling and the emotions. Dr. Sachs-Shmueli, the floor is yours, and thank you so much for coming to share your wisdom with us today.
Thank you, Ariel, for this generous introduction and for inviting me to this gathering, very special on Hanukkah and in these dark times for Israel and Jewish people. And I hope that my talk will speak also textually for Hasidic readings on the Zohar, but also will have some relevance for people today. And we will start with a story, a very mysterious dream of the third Rebbe of Komarno Hasidism. And we will dive into his dreams and fantasies about writing commentary to the Zohar, the canonical text of Jewish mysticism. And we'll see how he goes into this mission of writing a commentary to the Zohar after his father, Rabbi Yitzchak Isaac Safrin, already wrote a whole volumes of interpretation of himself. And after we see this ambition, we will read his and both of them commentaries to a very beautiful text in the Zohar that tries to answer the question, why is there suffering in this world? And we will see their diverse answers to this perplexing question. And we will try to see how the emotional direction of Hasidism leads Rabbi Eliezer in his commentary to the Zohar. So this is the journey I want to take you in through today. This my evening, your morning. So can you see my screen? I think you do. A heart crushed yet full of joy is the title I gave to this talk, and it's cited from a citation from the commentary of Rabbi Eliezer Safrin, and we will speak through it about emotion in Hasidic commentary to the Zohar. We're speaking about these two very long volumes of commentary, and I promise to make it as much as accessible as I can. I think you will find it very rewarding. So we will start with a ritual of Kabbalists to wake up in at midnight and mourn and weep for Shechina. Shechina is the divine presence in this world, and every time people feel an absence of divine presence, this is the exile of Shechina. Shechina, the female presence of God, is absent when when there is suffering, when there is calamities. And the Kabbalists took upon themselves to wake up at midnight and weep for Shechina and for all the sorrows and pains that the Israel nation endures throughout history. And it's very upsetting that history comes again and again. And that's what this story is about his waking up at midnight and the dream that he experiences after this waking up. Once in the winter, I woke up at midnight. I'm citing his introduction to the Zohar. Rabbi Eliezer Safrin of Komarno, he is active at 19th century Komarno, which is in Ukraine today. And I wept intensely over the destruction of the temple and above all, over the exile of the Shechina, for the negative forces and external influences are prevailing, God forbid. So he's waking up and crying and weeping because of all and he's giving it Kabbalistic terminology, negative forces, external influences. It's the way the Kabbalists speak about bad occurrences as demonically capturing this world. The next day, I also rose at midnight and wept even more during my studies. After that, I rested for a short while before dawn and had a dream that I came to the land of Israel. So we see how through his weeping and this ritual of midnight that he doesn't deduce from day to day, but it increases in emotional intensity. He falls asleep, and in his sleep, he goes to the land of Israel, the place of revelation. And I'm continuing to read, I walked among ancient houses, soft ground beneath my feet, and heard the morning recitations of poems, Psukei de Zimra, resonating like a loud and pleasant melody. So this is a very poetic dream, and it has a revelation. And we already see that we don't know what is going to happen, but we feel that there is holiness in this mysterious dream. And it also has clear materiality through which it reveals itself. Then I proceeded and saw an old house, very dilapidated to the point that the walls were black. The house was extremely large beyond measure, and in the house I saw a large entrance. So we see a house, we see it's old, and we see an entrance. And entrances in dreams is a welcoming invitation to a new world. So let's see what new world is it going through. The house was extremely large beyond measure, and in the house I saw an entrance. I thought that this entrance was suitable only for ancient people who were tall in stature. So the tall or height resembles the height of spiritual wisdom that he gives to these sages. I thought that, so while contemplating this, I saw a man emerging from this large house, towering in height. He was dressed in white silk garments, and even his belt was genuinely white. His face was like a radiant fire, more beautiful than anything I had ever seen. And I imagined that such a person did not exist in this world, in this generation. So he sees a person wearing white, which means it also symbolizes purity. And this is the garment of Kabbalists that wear white. So this person is high, which resembles and signifies high wisdom and deep wisdom and spirituality. And his face is radiant like fire. And in shamanic experiences, fire is a great mystical achievement. And so this is, I think, the fire he's seeing. And I imagine that such a person does not exist. So he feels it's from a person very long time ago. At that moment, I thought that this man must be from the first generation, either from the Tanaim, the sages from the 2nd century, or the holy patriarchs. So we see this exposition of the meeting that is going to occur and to give Rabbi Eliezer the courage to write his commentary. We'll see that although we're going to dive in a commentary to the Zohar, he has a very simple question, a very simple request he wants from this master. And he doesn't know who is this master, but he has all the signs to show this is a very important person that could bless him. So he meets this person in his dream. And what happens now is he immediately sees the hem of his garment and said, "My master and teacher, I request of you that I should not experience such intense trials and challenges, especially during prayer." I said to him in these words, "Master, Rebbe, how can it be that it won't be so as difficult as it now to come close to Judaism, Yiddishkeit?" So he has a very simple question. How can you make it more simple to be Jewish, Yiddishkeit, to come closer to Yiddishkeit? And while this request is very simple, he doesn't get any answer. And we see also his request is during prayers, he experiences a challenge. We can imagine with our knowledge of historical Hasidism that during prayer, a lot of Rebbes spoke about intrusion of thoughts, external thoughts, machshavot zarot, sometimes sexual content, in disturbing their prayer and not enabling them to pray purely and cleanly. Maybe he's implying for this challenge, but we don't really know what is the explicit and definite challenge that he is talking about. He paid no attention to my words. I'll go on, and he's asking him again, "I beg you, my master, that it won't be as difficult as it now to come close to Judaism." Immediately he responded, "My son, have no fear at all. I'll bless you." So we see here another touch into emotions that he tells him have no fear, and we see there is. I skipped another fear to enter a cave. This sage entered a cave. In the beginning, he was afraid to enter after him, but then he goes in a bit this frightening entrance, and he gets this blessing, and he continues to bless him that, "But the rod in your hand, do not abandon it, even for all the challenges or all the treasures of the world." So we don't know what is the rod. We do hear the rod resembles the rod of Moses, leadership. It also has a masculine connotation, but we don't know exactly what does the sage bless him in the end. So the dream concludes here with this blessing after he enters with him into a cave and gets this blessing. After having this revelation, Rabbi Eliezer is a son of a Rebbe himself, Rabbi Yitzchak Isaac Safrin, a big Rebbe of Hasidism, a Kabbalist that writes a commentary to the Zohar named Zohar Chai, and he tells his father this dream, and he asks him for interpreting this dream for him. So now he tells us in his introductory to the Zohar, what does his father say about this dream? P.S. This is not a real people. This is AI, artificial intelligent picture of a Rebbe speaking to his son. Now I continue. Rabbi Isaac Safrin, his father, answered me, "This elder is Rabbi Yeva Saba. I had prepared myself to see him for days because I wrote a commentary on his words in the Zohar, Parashat Mishpatim, as is known." So he interprets that this sage that his son saw is a specific sage. His name is Rabbi Yeva Saba, who is a image, a person in Zohar, Parashat Mishpatim. And the father himself wanted to see this person, and he prayed and he maybe fasted, and he was not able to meet him himself. Although I did not merit to see him, you had. I derived satisfaction from the fact that you had the privilege to behold this sage Saba, since his appearance is limited to those who study Torah for its own sake. In these words, I hear a little ambivalence about the satisfaction that the father sees, or the ambivalence the son experiences when he hears that he had the privilege to see a person that his father wasn't able to see. We see, on the one hand, pride and satisfaction of the father, but maybe also some fear of the son that he might be in a competition with his father. And I think this is one of the feelings the son has when he decides to write a long 8 volumes of commentary to the Zohar after his father finishes 5 volumes. What does he have to add to what his father enterprise already had done? And this interaction maybe reveals some of this ambivalence. Now, the father also tries to explain what does the sage mean in the word, the rod in your hand, do not abandon it, even for all treasures of the world. Chalalei de alma in Sanhedrin is what the specific wording in Aramaic says. Since I wrote a commentary to his words based on Kabbalah up to the words your rod. So he explained that this blessing the son got is with the word your rod, matcha, is because the father wrote a commentary to Saba, this sage's word, up to these words, matcha. So we see a connection of the father to this revelation, that he sees himself in this sage, or his quest, his desires. But the son says, however, I contemplated another matter related to the rod. He didn't accept this interpretation, but he doesn't tell us what is in his interpretation. This story is what Rabbi Eliezer has in his commentary introduction to the Mesek Eliezer, his commentary to the Zohar. And I wanted to start with this story to explain the context of this son writing a commentary to the Zohar after his father wrote one, and what does he have to add to this tradition. Now, to dive into our the question in the Zohar that we are going to dwell upon, we'll read a little bit of the Zohar, and we'll see how the father and the son give different approaches to the question of the suffering of Shechina and how a person should experience this suffering. So we are speaking about Zohar in Vayeshev Perikupe Parasha, and you see here a picture of an image of Yaakov, Jacob, crying and weeping for the loss of Joseph, and he's holding the garments with blood, and he thinks he lost his beloved son. And to this idea that Yaakov was grieving and weeping for his son, Chazal, the rabbis say that since Yaakov got this bad news that his son Yosef is, he thought, yes, killed. In the end, he found him alive. For 17 years, he didn't experience a revelation of Shechina because of his sadness. From this instance, the rabbis teach that when a person grieves and experiences sadness, he lacks divine revelation, divine presence. The Shekhinah does not dwell unless you are happy. And the Zohar, it seems, has a problem with this saying. So, according to Zohar studies, we date the Zohar 4th, 13th century, Castile, North Spain. But according to the Zohar conceptions of itself and tradition, the Zohar is at the same period, was composed at the same period of the Tanaim, of the Mishnah. So the Zohar feels free enough to express a divergent idea about when does the Shekhinah dwell. And it shows that, and it speaks about that the idea that the divine presence, Shekhinah, doesn't dwell within a sad heart is not always correct. And I'll read what the Zohar, what does the Zohar have to say about this idea. What I want to stress is that for the Zohar, it sounds illogical that for a person that experiences sorrow, that identifies with Shekhinah's exile, we spoke about that the Kabbalists used to wake up and still wake up at midnight to cry and weep and mourn all the troubles of Israel, of the world, of Shekhinah. For these people that experience this deep companionship with Shekhinah, how can it be that the Shekhinah won't dwell with them? How can it be that when a person is in the most needed and he really needs the Shekhinah in his presence because he's so much broken, how can it be that the Shekhinah abandons him in that most needed moment? So the Zohar will not accept this idea that the Shekhinah dwells only in a happy heart. On the contrary, Shekhinah dwells with the broken hearts. This is the new message, radical message the Zohar has to add to the Mishnah, the rabbinical saying about the Shekhinah's presence. And here I'll read. Here one should contemplate several aspects. First, we see that Shekhinah does not dwell in a place of sorrow, in a place without joy. If there is no joy, Shekhinah does not abide there. As it said, now bring me a minstrel. And then as the minstrel was playing, the spirit of God came upon him. For surely Shekhinah does not dwell in a place of sadness. How do we know? From Jacob, because he grieved over Joseph. Shekhinah departed from him as soon as the joyful news about Joseph reached him. Immediately the spirit of Jacob, their father, revived, but here with this righteous one who is crushed, weakened by pain. Where is joy? He is in sorrow with no joy at all. So this is the first idea that I said cited from the Mishnah, that the Shekhinah does not abide with in place of sorrow. But then there is a rejection. It continues, and I didn't cite the whole Zohar, but it has two rejections to the idea that the cause of suffering is sin. Okay, so it gives two explanations. One, there are people that are righteous and they are born righteous, and even though they have a broken heart and pain. So this is the classical answer, that the righteous do not, we can't say that righteous do not experience any sadness. We see many tzaddikim that experience sadness. And the opposite, if we say that people have to endure suffering in order to purify their heart we see many righteous that do experience a very joyful life. So we can't see that, we can't claim that suffering is necessary for purification. We see some righteous people that don't endure suffering. So what is the reason that some suffer and some do not? Why do some people experience broken hearts and broken bodies and have and experience death of their relatives? What is the reason of this? So the Zohar gives one explanation in the name of ancient books, and it explains that when the moon is defective, it means that we see during the month that some periods the moon has is not full moon, right? The full moon means that the moon gets her light from, and I'm saying her light because in the eyes of the Kabbalists, the moon resembles both Shekhinah, the feminine divine presence in the world, and it resembles the nation of Israel. And it's a feminized entity. When the moon is full, it means the moon is connected, is in union with the sun, which is the male divine entity. And when there is union between the female divine entity and the male divine entity, then the moon is full. But there are times during the month that the moon is not full. She's not in union with the sun, with the male entity. But whenever throughout the whole month, she gives life to new souls. The soul of a human being is conceived as a outcome of this union between the male and female entities. When there are in union, as a human being, his body is created from the union between his father and mother. His soul is created from the union between Shekhinah and the Kodesh Baruch Hu, the male entity. And she makes souls even when the sun does not light in her perfectly. And these souls that flow from her during this period that the sun does not light in her in full manner, these souls are defected, blemished souls. And these souls have all kinds of suffering that they suffer in this world. This is a unique explanation that we don't find in the rabbinical discourse, that the source of suffering is not just if your father had sinned or you have sinned, but there are cycles of and rhythms of this union above that inflicts and influences how a person, what type of life will he or she endure during his or her life in this world. On the one hand, you can say it's deterministic. Yeah, it's not only your merit and your sins promise your destiny. There are causes before you even were born. Before the person was born, what happened in the up above will shed light on his life or her life. But on the other hand, it takes out this blaming, guilt idea that a person is in charge and responsible for any suffering he endures or she. Let's go on. Rabbi Elazar, we have two ideas in that are expressed in the Zohar, one in the name of Rabbi Elazar and one in the name of Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Elazar says that these suffering will purify the soul and bring her to the world that is coming. It will promise, though maybe the suffering is not a cause of sin anyway. It will purify the soul and will promise its eternal life as a purified soul. The body is broken, but the soul is purified. This goes back to the teleological reasoning of suffering as it has a purpose. The purpose is purifying the soul through the breaking of the body. Rabbi Shimon emphasized a different part of it, that not only that the souls are conceived in this time that the sun is not fully in union with the moon, the male and female are not ultimately united, but at this time there is also an external force, the serpent, that signifies evil entities that come and interfere in the descending of the soul to this world. And at this time, that these souls that were conceived in this broken time, affected time, the womb of the Shechina is conceived as being very narrow, and the snake opens the womb up. So on the one hand, it's demonic, but on the other, it helps the birth, the opening of the womb and bringing the soul in the world. And he says this, and I'll read the translation of Daniel Matt of the Zohar. And when the moon is tainted by the aspect of that evil serpent, all souls then issuing, although all pure, all holy, issue defectively. The souls are holy, but the way they go down, the process is defective. So all the sites those souls reach are crushed and damaged by much distress and pain. Yet after they are broken, these sites become the delight of the Blessed One, the Blessed Holy One, even though the souls dwell in sorrow, not in joy. So these must be renewed with the renewal of the moon. Of them it is written, from the new moon to new moon, and from Shabbat to Shabbat, all flesh that come will be renewed, literally. So these souls, he stresses, are holy and are not defective in their essence, but they go through a trial of broken and distress sites. But there is a promise that, like the moon goes with cycles of renewal. So these souls will be renewed like this moon. And then it promises that these are called chastening of love, not of that person, of love for the light of the lesser love. Okay, I'll not go into all the specificalities here, but it says like this: these souls are companions, partnered with her, the moon, the Shechina. Happy is their share in this world and in the world to come, where they have become worthy of being her companions. Of this it is said, peace be with you. So these people that endure broken sights and distress, it says that they are the companions of Shechina. So Shechina dwells with these people. And this is contrary to the saying that Shechina does not dwell with broken hearts. Now we're going to Kumarno, which is in Ukraine, like I told you, and I'll explain how these two masters, Zohar Chai, Rabbi Isaac Safrin, and Rabbi Eliezer Safrin, read differently this Zoharic passage, and I'll focus on the domestic Eliezer, the son that we started with, and I will just explain shortly what the Zohar Chai, his father, explained. So when reading this Zohar page, both of them have textual quandaries they want to answer. Zohar Chai wants to explain, how do the different attitudes or explanations for sorrow or distress, how do they fit or explain one another? And he explains that these are three different attitudes to the reasoning of suffering. One is the ancient books idea that it's the moon with its defective times that is a cause of suffering. The second is Rabbi Eliezer, which goes back to the idea that suffering is a tool and mechanism for purification of the soul through the torments of the body. And the third is Rabbi Shimon's idea that it's similar to the first one of the moon, but it gives another layer of the snake that goes into this process. And so he reads this Zoharic page as a Talmudic page that expresses different ideas that stand parallel to each other with no need for harmonization, and all are legitimate. They're all cited on this Zoharic page, and you can have many ideas or many ways to try and answer why is there suffering in the world, and really because maybe we don't have one answer. We don't really know what is the right cause, so we have place to express different ideas. What the Mesek Eliezer tries to answer is how does the Zohar saying that the Shechina dwells with broken hearts can work with, and with the saying that we say that Shechina dwells only with joyful sights. So does Shechina dwell with the brokenhearted or with the joyful people? And he has a emotional reading and explanation to explain how a person can be both brokenhearted and joyful at the same time. This is in a hybrid emotional state that he teaches as an ideal, and to synthesize the two contradictory ideas that we see. I'm going right into the Mesek Eliezer. I already explained Zohar Chai. So he says this, he explained the word suffering that is in the Zohar. Even though they break their heart from the greatness of sorrow for the Shechina in exile, and also the immense pain of Israel, who are pressed with suffering and with a broken and crushed heart, nevertheless, their pure heart is in great joy. As I wrote above, that it is the secret. I'll be glad and rejoice in your mercy, for this is alone sufficient for me, for you have considered my trouble. You have known my soul in adversities. So he cites a poem verse. We already remember that the dream we read in the beginning speaks about the recitations of poems, and poems is replete with emotional states that the Hasidim read and learn from how to express the emotional ideal. So one verse in Psalm 31, in the same verse, it says both that a person will be glad and rejoice in your mercy, and in the same verse it says, because you have considered my trouble, you have known my soul in adversities. So he learns from the poem itself, from David HaMelech, that one can experience both joy and trouble at the same time. And why, he will explain more. These words cannot be said just by anyone, but only by one whose heart is broken and crushed into 1,000 pieces. The title I took for this talk. Within this heart, it is filled with joy, for it's the great level. This is a suffering of love which equates numerically to one. The word ahava in Hebrew, love, equates in Gematria numerically to the word one, to signify that the one who serves the holy name, blessed be he, one moment, he is always in unity, one with the Holy One, blessed be he, and with Israel. So the suffering that a person experiences, and he says it's not for everyone, not anyone can achieve this emotional level, but this is his ideal, is that a person feels connected, he feels empathy with the suffering of his community or her community, and feels one with Shechina, which expresses the divine presence or its lack of presence in this world. And when a person feels this suffering, and one cannot be um, um, indifferent for this torment. If a person is indifferent to the suffering of his community, of the divine presence that is broken in this world, this person is not achieving the ideal of his Hasidic path. But we shall remember that joy is still a very important component of the emotional ideal in Jewish culture in large, in general, and within Hasidic traditions. So what is the source of joy when a person is experiencing a empathy? And it's not just empathy, it's not just saying the other's trouble. He feels one, he feels that the other's troubles and torments are his own. So the source of joy, and he explains this in the continuation, that it's I'm skipping a little from the text I cited. So first of all, it is the love of the Creator, blessed be He, from the great unity with the Creator that is in his heart. This is the source of his crushed heart. For this righteous person always sees in himself that he is blemished with sin, and because of his transgression, the Shechina, divine presence, is also blemished, God forbid. This person feels responsibility, and he takes charge for the suffering in the world. We're going back to responsibility, even though we went to this framework of blemished souls. Even though this righteous person that feels empathy, he does feel he's responsible, and he needs to take charge and purify himself ethically in order to correct the blemishes. And when he sees the greatness of the Creator, who gives him such a broken heart at his arousal at the time of midnight prayer for Shechina, who is in exile with her children Israel, then this person sees that the Holy One, blessed be He, desires his service. So the source of his joy is that he knows that he's experiencing sorrow for others. So the sorrow for others, the ability to feel this broken heart, is the reason of the joy. It is it's a sign for him that he's not indifferent, that he's on the right path of being a broken heart, but with joy in it. Then he prays also with this broken heart for the troubles and hardship of Israel, and all this is with a sincere and honest heart. From this, the Holy One, blessed be, causes joy of holiness to arise in his heart, as our sages said, the joy of mitzvah. So it's not joy of treasures or of prosperity, but it's the joy of being able to feel sorrow. This sensitivity is the root of the joy, and is the way, in the eyes of Rabbi Eliezer Safrin, to get to this hybrid emotional state of a broken heart shattered into thousand pieces, this poetical image but within it there is joy. I will conclude now. One moment. So Rabbi Isaac Safrin, we see here two different ways in which the father and the son approach the reason of suffering. And the father, he accepts that there is suffering. He doesn't try to read into this trouble times any joy. He accepts there are times that people feel the absence of Shechina, and they give different explanation. Maybe it's the Shechina that is a blemish. Maybe it's the snake. maybe it's for the reason of purifying the body, and they all stand as legitimate answers without any resolution. And we see that Rabbi Isaac Safrin is not trying to tie into joy into this situation, but tries to explain that there are different attitudes for suffering. Rabbi Eliezer, the son, enriches the approach that confirms that acceptance of sorrow by striving to encompass within the pain and grief with God and his people, self-reproach and self-criticism, and which will, in result, bring to a positive heartbreak as the core of joy and future hope. So the breaking of the heart is the core of joy. Thank you. I hope I made these very complex texts more accessible and I think relevant for these times and troubles that I'm sad that are still inflicted upon us.
That was wonderful. Thank you so much for this brilliant textual journey through the great works of the medievals and also into the early modern and modern period. We have time now for some questions. You can raise your hands, indicate with a gesture.
It was all clear as the sun.
All totally.
And as the moon when it's connected to the sun.
Yeah, exactly.
Ellie, go ahead.
Hi.
Ellie has a question.
Hi,
First of all,
Eddie.
thank you, Leore. Nice to see you.
Nice seeing you.
I was just struck by this bringing together the two emotions. And I was recalling that at the end of chapter 34 of the Tanya, he's similarly citing a Zoharic passage. He has a similar idea, but I was wondering if you could speak maybe to the differences, because I think there are some interesting differences there, and it's an interesting comparison to make, because he's, especially with what you're talking about here, there's a social component to this. The joy comes from an understanding, comes from the sadness that you have for others. The joy comes from, I guess, a sense of hope that derives from the good elements that you see in your attitude to others. Whereas in the Tanya, it's much more about body and soul, right? So it's all kind of internal. The joy comes from the soul, and the sadness comes from the abjection of the body. So that was just something that jumped out to me as an interesting contrast, and I wonder if you've thought about that more, and are there different approaches here in general to the using the Zoharic literature in these different Hasidic schools?
Okay, thank you, Ali. It's a beautiful question, and it prompts me to continue my exploration. I just finished a book on fear and Hasidism, so maybe I'll continue into this combination of sadness and joy together. And I love that, Tanya, you speak about, because there too, he speaks of the positive outcome of Lev Nishbar and broken heart as a way to purify. And also there, if I understand it correctly, what makes a person happy is the knowledge that he's using his broken heart to a spiritual cause. And this will, without this broken heart, the person cannot purify himself from his sins. So the way to break your maybe the path of sin is through broken heart. Here, yes, it's more, and you speak about the different ways they read Zohar, and it's also interesting how the poems have a special important role in the emotional guidance. It is community, and he does say for Israel, for the Shekhinah. But what makes him happy is he knows that he's doing the service. It's a sign for him he's on the right spiritual path. So it still has a similar logic to it. But I accepted that different schools have different ways to negotiate it. And what's interesting is, and what I hope to show, that showing that Hasidism only speaks about joy makes it flatten the emotional understanding of the Hasidic guidance, and joy has a place alongside of other also harsher emotions and darker emotions, and how do they combine them together? That's also an interesting study for me.
I just add that sometimes we're too quick to look for differences. Maybe sometimes it's okay to show that even though these are different Hasidic schools, they do have certain shared themes and approaches. And I think also we're talking about two different chapters in Tanya, but they're part of the same conversation. I think you're talking about, I think, chapter 26, 27, about the advantage of otziv, of depression, and then this chapter 34 where he talks about holding them together as one, the sadness and the joy. So yeah, definitely a lot to talk about.
Sorry, I didn't respond to the same chapter you it's a series there of chapters that speak about sadness and joy and other emotions and fear and love and
Yes.
I had a question. Good to see you, Leore. And my father Philip was a big fan of William James, the philosopher, and I'm struck by, he had this idea of once born and twice born, right? That there are the once borns who just kind of naturally were raised inside of a belief system and they don't necessarily question that much, right? And then there were the twice borns, who are those of us, I include myself in that group, who, have to do some work to get there, who have to go through all of the trials and travails to get there. And it's not, maybe it's a statement, not a question, but I'm struck by there's sort of a strange similarity here, right? There's those who were, cursed is the wrong word, but those who were given some work to do by the moon and sun in concert, and it's a beautiful process, that work. And then there's some who maybe were born at the right time of the planetary interaction.
Yeah, thank you. I thank you for the opportunity to be part of this legacy. And I read and learned from your father's social vision, and I think he could interpret the things I just said for a communal legacy, and how a person, cursed or not cursed, but here it's also about the empathy and the high spiritual degree of the people that are the broken ones. And we usually, if we speak again about the Tanya, we have the tzaddik that has no troubles and they're figuring out their path, and there's the Beinoni that has the battles. And here, the one that is experiencing these broken times and troubles he is the companion of Shekhinah, because Shekhinah resembles the broken and affected reality. So though we all want to be in a complete, purified, perfect state, that's what we admire. the Zohar admires the lack and the cycle that renews itself and has effects and blemishes. And there's an interesting article by my colleague Jeremy Brown that explains a little about the historical context and social context of the Franciscan that the impoverished is the ideal in some context. So I wouldn't make it an ideal for everyone in all times, this poverty type of ideal, but I think that it gives strength. And also, instead of saying that these people are cursed because they sinned or because of their deeds or because their soul was in their last reincarnation deserved it and they're in the wrong kasta, yeah, this gives them a higher level of being the companions of Shekhinah.
Agreed.
I had a question. I was thinking about what you said about how how it's sort of like a message of hope, this thing. And I was wondering, there's sort of like a natural order to the way that the suffering is set up, and it seems like there's a certain joy. The joy comes from sort of like fully participating in your place in the natural order. And I was wondering, I don't know, maybe you would disagree with that, but I was wondering how like messianic, how like teleological do you see this? Is it about being in the present, or is it really essentially gesturing towards the future and towards redemption?
Okay, thank you. That's a wonderful question, because this Zoharic passage does, in the end, conclude with a messianic message in which the moon will shine as bright as the sun. And in the end, yes, now we're in exile, now in the process of broken hearts and troubles, but in the end, there is a promise that like the hope that the samsara, the cycle will end in Buddhist ideas. Yes, it's different, it's the cycle of souls, but there is hope that the cycle, natural processes will end and will be completed in the moon that will shine as bright as the sun, and these souls will not need to suffer in the end of times. And these suffering souls will be the ones that will be most delighted and most happy in these end of times. We have it already in Chazal and rabbinic saying that whoever mourns with Zion will be the ones that will rejoice with her. Ken kol ha'avelim im Yerushalayim. So it builds upon this idea and promises that these broken souls in the end of days will be the ones that rejoice with Shekhinah. Thank you.
I know Ariel had to jump at 1 p.m. Eastern time, so a few more minutes if anyone has any other questions. I don't know how much more deep we can get, but we could try. Okay. If we don't have any more questions, I'm looking for anybody with their hand raised. If you do have a question, just jump in and interrupt me. But if we don't have any more questions, we'll conclude our bringing for today. Thanks to Dr. Sachs-Shmueli for this very fascinating talk. Upcoming in our series, we're going to have Eli Rubin. We don't have the schedule completely pinned down, but Eli will be joining us. He was asked the first question today, and Aaron Lieb Smokler also coming up in our series. It's whatever we get every week, we can or every month, excuse me, we can promise you it's going to be interesting. So thanks to everybody for joining. And this was really great. Pass on the word, and we will be in touch soon with the date for our next for bringing. And we thank everybody for joining.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Go ahead, Zevi. Lead it.
What's if I bring it without a niggin?
After party?
I want, yeah.
Which one do you want?
Hi, Goldie.
Can we? Do we have permission to sing a niggin here? Michael?
Yes, of course. Do it, whatever you want.
I'm not. I hope people will join along.
Sure.
Or should I sing one that people know? Triya mama Triya mama Oh yeah, Lilo Yakim and Dawa Waimina Shiki mi Mano Sikfasi Oh yeah, Tsuji Vishwasi Miskabi Layamet Triya mama yana ayama mama oh yana Triya mama Triya mama yana Okay, next time let's sing a nigga that everyone knows.
Well, that
Thank you,
was
Scott.
what a beautiful,
We
what a
need you
beautiful.
back next
Okay,
time, next
Jesse.
month. We'll get you back to start with.
You did very, very well a cappella, and what a beautiful way to send us out. That was, just the cherry on top. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you guys for being here.
Thanks, Michael.
Okay, we'll see you all next month.
Love you all. Freiliche Hanukkah.
Ditto, yeah.